Hi, welcome back. Welcome to Insect Systematics lecture series. We were discussing the general characters of orders and economically important families. In fact, today I'm very happy to talk about one of the most beautiful creatures on this planet Earth. Those are butterflies and moths. Okay, this order, now Lepidoptera, which consists of butterflies and moths, is one of the important order and it's the second largest order next to Coleoptera. So it cannot be covered in a single lecture. In fact, I have divided this order Lepidoptera discussion into two lectures. In the lecture 18A, I'll be mostly covering the economically important families of butterflies, whereas in the lecture 18B, I'll be covering the families of moths. Okay, so this is where we are now, order Lepidoptera under the subdivision Oligoneoptera, the classification given by the Christensen, which I keep on putting in every lecture, in fact, so that it will be firmly fixed in your mind. So coming to order Lepidoptera, which consists of butterflies, moths, and skippers. So etymologically, lepido means scales, ptera means wings. So that means the body, wings, and appendages of these insects are densely clothed with overlapping scales, okay, which gives coloration to the body. So each of these scales actually looks very different, and they gives coloration. As a result of that, in fact, these lepidopterans are very beautiful creatures. The mouth parts, in case of adults, are siphoning type, which is modified in order to take the nectar from the flowers, whereas larvae actually have got biting and chewing type of mouth parts. Thereby, they attack various crops and they become very destructive. Okay, so very variation, lot of change in metamorphosis. As a result, their body structure actually changes during the growth and development. The galea of maxilla are greatly elongated and are held together by interlocking hooks and spines. In fact, galea of maxilla, so there will be two galea which are very extended, very long, and they are actually interlocked with the help of hooks and spines, and they are held like a watch spring below the head region. You can see here, these are in fact galea which are held together with the help of hooks and spines, which is very long, in fact, but they are actually held like spring below the head region. But when the insect is ready for feeding, it can extend these galea and reach to the stigma and take the nectar. Okay, so that's how these galea is actually is modified in case of adults, which is primarily biting and chewing in case of larvae, in case of caterpillars. So caterpillars have got both thoracic legs and abdominal legs, hence it is actually called eruciform or polypoda type of larvae. Okay, so these prolex have got crochets. With help of that, they in fact crawl, over the substratum while moving on various materials. The forewings are larger than the hindwings in most of the cases, you can see here, and larvae are eruciform polypoda type. Okay, so these are the general characters of order Lepidoptera. Coming to economic importance, the larvae of these insects are probably more destructive to agricultural crops and forest trees than any other groups of insects. So name any crop, name any plant, there will be a lepidopteran caterpillar feeding on various parts of those plants. Thereby they become very destructive. And even some of these species attack stored produce and they are considered as storage pests. And few of the species actually yields, they construct cocoon through which natural silk is obtained. So and then they have got a very importance in commerce as well, especially in textile industry. And few of the species are also valued for their beauty. Okay, so and they needs conservation. Okay, so as a result of that, various agencies have come out with parks, especially butterfly parks. So I am mentioning two here. In fact, Bannerghatta Butterfly Park located in Bangalore, and similarly one of the private person actually have developed a park, butterfly park in Belavai near Mangalore. So that means that indicates the value of their beauty and also the aesthetic value and also the need of conservation. So they are beneficial as pollinators as well. That means few of the species are beneficial, few of them are harmful, and in some cases, in the larval stage they are harmful, whereas adults act as beneficial. So that's why the study actually has got a very importance in order to better use them for the benefit of mankind. So coming to classification, the classification in fact is kept on changing in case of lepidopterans. So people used various characters for classification as a result. the classification which was done previously was considered as unnatural. But we need to study the old classification and as well as new classification so that we understand why classification in fact keep on changing. So previously people used Rhopalocera and Heterocera. So Rhopalocera were considered as butterflies and Heterocera moths, which was primarily based on antennal structure. So what is this? Antennae are slender and capitate, so are clubbed. What happens here? The terminal or the apical, the antennometer segments, in fact, enlarged suddenly, giving a knobbed structures to the antenna. So hence they are placed under the butterflies, Rhopalocera. Whereas in case of moths, antennae varied but not knobbed, clavate, filiform, setaceous, plumose, spindle, pectinate, varieties are different kinds of antennae are identified in case of moths. So that is the difference between the butterfly antennae and moths antennae. Similarly, other very important character in order to distinguish butterflies and moths are wings at repose held vertically above the body. Okay, you see a butterfly, so you can see the wings now held vertically above the abdomen at rest like this. Whereas in case of moths, wings are held roof-like over the body. Okay, you can make a difference between butterflies and moths if you observe that sitting posture. Other difference includes frenulum and jugum are absent in butterflies. So that are very much important character for wing coupling mechanism in moths. Okay, jugum arises from the forewing, from the anal margin, whereas in case of butterflies, there will not be any coupling mechanism, but just because of wing area, which we call it as amplexiform type of coupling mechanism, just because of wing area, both the forewing and the hind wing are weld together. Okay, as a result, they work together. Whereas in case of moths, either frenulum, which usually arises from the hind wing, which holds the forewing, or the jugum, which arises from the forewing, which holds the hind wing. As a result, coupling occurs, and as a result, both the forewings and the hind wings works together. Okay. So other difference includes most of the butterflies are diurnal insects. Few exceptions are there, and whereas the moths are nocturnal insects usually. Okay. So butterflies are slender bodied, whereas moths are stout bodied. So that's how this artificial classification was followed previously, but now it is not followed. Okay, so you can easily differentiate based on the antennal structure, which is capitate or knobbed in case of butterflies, whereas it is highly varied in case of butterflies, moths. So you can see the sitting posture in case of butterflies, they are held, wings are held vertically above the abdomen at rest, whereas you can see here they are held roof-like over the body at rest. So antenna and resting posture are the differentiating character between butterflies and moths. So other type of classification which existed previously was based on the wing venation as well as the nature of wing coupling mechanism. So which are considered as jugate group and frenate group. Okay, which are also called homoneurons and heteroneurons. So jugate, I was telling, there is a lobe-like structure arising from the forewing. Okay, and they are also called homoneurons. Homoneurons means both forewing and hindwing have got similar type of venation. Whereas frenate, so frenulum arises from the hind wing, which holds the forewing. Okay, we have studied about female frenate and male frenate. To go back and discuss about study about wing coupling mechanism, which we studied in the lecture of wings. Okay, they are also called heteroneurons. That means both forewings and hind wings have got different wing venation. Okay, so that was the classification which was previously followed, which is not again, which is considered as old and not followed because they are not natural. And based on size also, people classified, they were considered as microlepidopterans and macrolepidopterans, like wingspan of 3 to 20 millimeter. They were considered as microlepidopterans. Wingspan of more than 20 millimeter to more than 300 millimeter, much bigger moths and butterflies were considered as macrolepidopterans. Okay, so whatever may be the classification which we studied so far, they're all considered as unnatural. For example, division of group on the basis of butterflies and moths, Rhopalocerans and Heterocerans, based primarily on the sitting posture as well as the antennal structure, unnatural. Similarly, size, macrolepidopterans and microlepidopterans. We have small butterflies, large butterflies, small moths and large moths. Okay, so there is a confusion. So that's why it is again not natural. Similarly, jugate and frenate based on wing coupling mechanism. So all of which were considered as unnatural. So we need a phylogenetically based classification, whether it is maybe a a moth or a butterfly, whether it is can be differentiated based on phylogenetics is important. So as a result of that, people kept on searching, identifying, coming out with a natural classification, phylogenetically based classification. As a result of that, classification actually keeps on changing. So same thing happened in case of Lepidoptera as well. So as of now, so this is the classification, accepted classification, which we are following now. So basically, this Lepidoptera order consists of 4 suborders, which includes Zeugloptera, Aglassata, Heterobothmina, and Glassata. Okay, so many of these butterflies and moths, most of the Lepidopterans are placed under the suborder Glassata, which consists of 4 infraorders, in fact: Dacnonypa, Neocystina, Exoporia, and Heteroneura. So among these, Heteroneura is important. So this infraorder Heteroneura consists of 2 clades. One is Monotricia and Diatrecia. Okay, so what are these Monotricia and Diatrecia? So remember, this is the accepted classification which we are following now. So consists of 4 suborders. Okay, so clade Diatrecia consists of females having 2 pores. Okay, so what are those 2 pores? The copulatory pore is located in 8th abdominal sternite and the egg pore in the 9th abdominal sternite. So the Diatrecia means there will be 2 pores in case of females. So in fact, more than 97% of the Lepidopterans have got 2 pores in case of females, and they are placed under the clade Diatrecia. Okay, whereas Monotricia consists of single pore in case of female. Okay, so both now egg pore as well as the copulatory pore occurs in a single pore. So they are placed under the clade Monotricia. So there are only few families under this. Okay, so that means most of these Lepidopterans are considered as Diatrecians. What are these 2 pores? So copulatory pore in the sternum 8th, okay, egg pore in the abdominal sternite 9th and 10th. So 9th and 10th is 9 abdominal segment 9 and 10 are fused. Okay, so that means there will be 2 pores. Whereas in case of few families, both copulatory pore and egg pore occurs found in a single pore. Okay, so occurs in the 9th are fused 9th and 10th abdominal segment. So that is the difference between the Monotricia and Diatrecia, and most of the Lepidopterans are Diatrecians, remember. So coming to the important families of Lepidoptera. Okay, there are a number of super families have been identified. Again, I reiterate, we are studying the tip of the iceberg. So very few economically important families. So we'll pronounce, try to listen to my pronunciation. Papilionidae, economically important families includes Papilionidae, Hesperidae, Pieridae, Lycaenidae, Nymphalidae. Okay, so other super families includes Viponematidea, Flutellidae, Gelachidea, Eucophoridae, Gelachidae, Casidea, Casidae, Pteroporidae, Pteroporidae, Pyralidae, Pyralidae, Crambidae, Geometridea, Geometridae, Bombycoidea, Bombycidae, Saturnidae, Spingidae, Noctuidae, Noctuidea consists of 2 families, Noctuidae and Arctidae, which is now considered as Arabidae. So these are the important families. So in this lecture number 18A, I will be concentrating only on the butterfly families, which are mostly placed under the superfamily Papilionidae. So we'll take one by one. So family Papilionidae, they are commonly called swallowtails. So they are usually dark colored butterflies, strikingly marked with shades of yellow, okay, red, green, okay, you can see here. So very common butterflies. So when you go out, definitely you find a number of species of this type of swallowtails. They all belongs to family Papilionidae. Okay, so what are the important characters? Front legs with a tibial epiphysis. You can see here a spur-like structure is found in tibia. Okay, so this is the very important characteristic feature. And other characters includes cubitus in forewing, apparently 4-branched. Okay, it looked like 4-branched, but there is a confusion. So I'll try to show those photographs and try to explain. Class of pretarsus simple. So usually most of the insects will find 2 class. So it's a common character. It's a comparative character, of course. So when you compare with a confusing family in another family, if you have a confusion that these look like Papilionidae, you have to look for these type of characters. Okay, I was mentioning class. If you find a different structure, it must be a different family. That's what. So early star larva look like bird droppings. You can see here. Okay, larvae, once it attaches from the egg, it looks like bird droppings. So it looks like that. Okay, so try to study further. Larvae are smooth with glandular projection on prothorax, which is called osmeterium. You can see here the prothoracic region when they are especially disturbed, when the larvae are disturbed, usually feed on citrus and other plants. When they are disturbed, they rise these arm-like structures, which are called osmeteria. Okay, what are these structures? Okay, so very characteristic. I will not go further, so try to study. So you can see here, so these arm-like structures are actually emerging from the prothoracic region. Okay, common species includes Papilio which are called citrus butterfly, Graphium species. Okay, so this one, which I am showing here, is considered as state butterfly of Karnataka. Okay, so that's the importance these butterflies have got. So the characteristic features includes hindwings with a tail-like prolongation, you can see here, which is a marginal in the region of vine M3. So it's the extension of vine, the median, okay, median vine, the third median vine is called M3. But of course, not all species of papilionids will have these swallowtails, but they are generally called swallowtails, remember. So there is a next family called Pieridae. They are called whites, sulfurs, orange tips. Again, I think very common species. Okay, medium-sized butterflies with white or yellow wings, with black or red or orange marginal markings. You can see here. Okay, front legs well developed, tarsal class biped. Okay, now you see this structure. So earlier I was telling in Papilionidae, they are simple, class simple. But here they look like four. They look like four. Whatever the two class will be there, they look like four. As a result, you can see four look like four class. They are actually four. Okay, they are called bifid class. Front legs without a tibial epiphysis. I was telling again, comparative character with Papilionidae, you will not find that tibial epiphysis in this. Okay, very easy to remember. Some species damage crops during larval stage. For example, Pieris brassicae, which is called cabbage butterfly, very destructive to cabbage crops. Okay, so that's how we can identify these Pierids. Next family, Lycanidae. They are called blues, coppers, air streaks. Okay, based on coloration, in fact. Small to moderate sized butterflies with base of antennae and eyes margined by white scales. What are these? Antennae with white rings. You can see here. See the antenna closely, you find these white rings. Very characteristic, which occurs even in case of eyes. Okay, in air-like prolongation occurs towards the anal end in case of hind wings. You can see here? Yeah, you can see. Okay, so those are air-like extensions. So that's why they are also called air streaks. Okay, so common species includes pomegranate butterfly, Virachola isocrates. Very important, destructive pest of butterfly, pomegranate, which acts as pomegranate fruit borer. But there is another species which acts as predaceous on scales, coccids, which is called Spalgius apius. You can see here one species of this licaniid acting as a serious pest. Another acts as beneficial insect by feeding on scales, which are our pests. Okay, so that's how the study of individual species is very much important. So the larvae of these lichenids are look like slugs and may secrete honeydew. Okay, like material that attracts ants. So previously we knew that only hemipterans, especially Sternorhynchus suborder, secretes honeydew, or that ants are attracted. Okay, but there is a lichanid. Okay, there is a family Lichenidae. So those also secretes these honeydew-like material, for that ants are attracted. Okay, some even live in ant nests. That type of mutualism exists. Lichenidae produce substrate-borne sounds that attracts ants. Okay, hence larvae are also called singing caterpillars. Okay, you can see here, very easy to remember. So the sound is actually produced because of in order to attract the ants. Okay, so ecological significance. I was telling about this species, Spalgius apius, which is predaceous on coccids. Okay, so you can see this. This is a caterpillar, which is almost covered with willy matter. So thereby it actually stays within the scales colony and feed on the scales. That's how they eat as a beneficial insect. But you can see here how the metamorphosis occurs. This caterpillar, in fact, develop into a pupae, which look like human skull. Can you see this? Look like eyes, nose, mouth. Why it actually evolved in order to show off like a human skull? There should be an ecological significance. So try to understand that. So this is the adult butterfly of this Spalgius apius. Next family, Nymphalidae. So they are commonly called brush-footed butterflies. So the common name refers to front legs which are greatly reduced with claws, and also the tibia is short and clothed with long ears. Hence they are called brush-footed butterflies. You can see here the forelegs are reduced, okay, without any claws. Okay, there is no claws here. You can see most of the cases the coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia, tarsi end with claws. But here in this case, especially the forelegs do not possess claws. But though these tibia is short and they are consist of long ears. Hence they are actually called brush-footed. Okay, foots will have the ears, brush-like ears. Hence they are called brush-footed butterflies. So very characteristic and easily can be remembered. Hind wings are entire at anal end. You will not find no tail-like extension like Nymphalidae, in case of Lycanidae, which are called ear streaks, and also swallowtails, you find tail-like extension. So no such extension is found in case of these nymphalids. Okay, so other characters includes cubitus informing apparently three branched. Previously we studied four branched in case of Papilionidae. Okay, I'll show those structures. Some larvae are pests of crabs usually and possess two or four fleshy processes like this. Can you see this? Okay, so those process again, okay, in order to ward off the predators, especially the bird predators. Okay, common species includes mango butterfly, Euthelia garuda, paddy butterfly, Melanitis leda eastman, milkweed butterfly, Danas flexibus. So few of the species you can see very colorful again. So comparatively bigger family consists of number of subfamilies. Nymphaline, okay, mango butterfly, Euthelia garuda. Heliconine, Acria species. Satyrine, paddy butterfly, Melanitis leda hispane. Danine, milkweed butterfly, Danas flexibus. So I'm mentioning few of the subfamilies and few of the scientific names as well, so that in the future courses when you come across these, so you'll be able to better understand. So out of these, I'll be concentrating a little bit about Danas flexibus, which are considered as monarch butterfly. Okay, so what are these monarch butterflies? In fact, they have got a lot of ecological significance. A lot of research is being done on these butterflies because these Danas flexibus, in fact, they migrate like birds. We know better about bird migration. Okay, but these butterflies do migrate. Okay, especially these Danas flexibus, in fact, which are very common in Canada and northeastern part of US, United States. They migrate to south of Mexico, South American countries. Now, when they experience very serious winter during especially October, November in US. In order to escape from severe winter, they migrate down. Okay, and they spend 2-3 generation in some comparatively summer environment, but they come back to their original place after 2 or 3 generation, after 4 generation in fact. How do they remember this? Okay, a lot of ecological studies have been taken up in US, and in fact these are the most important natural event which takes place in America. Okay, very high catchy phenomenon the Americans experience. This is the caterpillar of these monarch butterflies. So try to understand more about the Danas flexibus migration and study more about these. So how do you differentiate Papilionidae and Peiridae? Front legs with a tibial epiphysis you can see here, and there is no tibial epiphysis. And the class of pretarsus simple, whereas tarsal class biped in case of Peiridae. That's how we can distinguish. Similarly, how do you distinguish Papilionidae and Nymphalidae? So cubitus informing apparently 4 branched. You can see here. These are CU. Okay, actually CU1 and CU2. Because of this cell, which is called discal cell, which looks like 4 branched. You can see here. Probably you may count it as CU1, CU2, CU3, and CU4. So it looks like 4 branched, but it's actually only 2 branched. Okay, whereas in case of Nymphalidae, it is 3 branched. You can see here, this is the discal cell represented as D, CU1, CU2. Okay, so but you can see, you may count it as CU3. Okay, so it is actually 2 branched. It looks like 3 branched. That's how you can differentiate once you study the wing venation. So next family called Hesperidae, they are commonly called skippers. So they are named for their quick darting flight. Okay, so usually they move like this and they move like this. So these are darting flight. That's why they are called skippers. Family Hesperidae. Okay, Hesperidae. Remember these two double I. Okay. Antennae are clubbed with curved tip or hooked. Very important characteristic feature of skippers. So it looks like an hooked or curved. So this is the characteristic feature of family Hesperidae. So prothorax of larvae is small and neck-like. You can see here. Okay, neck is constricted. Feed inside the leaf shelter, especially in many of the crops like coconut or banana. They fold the leaves and usually their body is covered with mealy matter and they scrape the green matter or they defoliate. The common species includes paddy skipper, Pelopidas mathias, coconut skipper, Gangara thyrsis, banana skipper, Arionota taurus, like this. Okay, so there are a number of species. Hesperidae. In fact, previously the family Hesperidae was placed under the superfamily called Hesperidea. But recently this Hesperidae has been shifted and placed under the Papilionidae as they were phylogenetically considered to be very close to Papilionidae. But how do you differentiate these Papilionidae and Hesperidae? Okay, so this is the character. So these are the R, the branches of R, numbered as R1, R2, R3, R4, R5. Out of these 5 branches, R4 and R5 are actually stalked. You can see here. So from the discal cell they emerge. So R4 and R5 are branched from here. But in case of Hesperidae, all the 5 branches of R arising from the discal cell without any stalk. You can see here they are all separate. So that's how we can differentiate Papilionidae from Hesperidae. Okay, so some of the visuals, in fact, they are questions. So I was talking about monarch butterfly migration in United States of America. So why do monarch migrates? Okay, so what is the ecological significance of their migration? What factors triggers their migrations? So usually migrations means they'll actually come back to original place. So whether the same generation comes back or so after 3 or 4 generations, how do they able to recognize their ancestors' original place? Is migration is common in all the species of butterflies, whether only the monarch butterfly migrates? Is there any other species of butterflies? Is there any Indian species of butterflies, okay, which migrates? Okay, so interesting thing. Better to spend time and dig out the literature and study. Okay, so I was telling about Osmeterium found in case of larvae of Papilionidae. What actually it contains? Whether it secretes any of the alkaloids? Why do they develop this type of character? So whether has got any ecological significance or not. So those things you need to study further. Okay, so thank you very much. If there are any specific questions, you can email me or you can post below as well. So thank you very much.